Okay, so we've been using this poem gauging software here in the field for a field measurement. Now we want to assemble all those .tap files together in the Sonnet poem calculation software here. So we start this up, and we can just make that slightly larger here. And we need to obviously firstly go and find our files we've been working on. So just like anything else, you just search for your current files. So we had them under poem directory, and you can see here they're under a date and time. So if we select that directory, it puts it in the top up here, and it brings in all the .tap files for that current gauging. So this is typically how you'll see it filed in the field, just under a directory with the date and time. So for the benefit of the demonstration, we're going to use the demo files, because the gauging we did in the field with part A and B, we didn't do a complete measurement, so we'll go and pick up an earlier file which has a complete gauging in it. This time we're just going to use the demo example here. Again, you can see it's under a folder with the date and time the gauging was filed. And we open up that directory, it'll bring all the tap files in below like such. And it has a description of where those files are and the site name. So another thing that's very handy is the help menu. So if we open up the help menu at the same time, we can leave that in behind. This has very good descriptions with the overview and the main menu, which you can step through as well. And you can just go through the next, and it explains the root directory where the data is filed, the directory structure, what everything means, the info on the tabs below, describing all the different menus within the which we're going to look at in a minute. And then it has some graphical displays of the raw data, statistical outputs as well, and our final discharge, how to export. So keep that in the back of your mind, that's very handy to look at as we're going through. So back to our main menu, we can pick up the file version here, which is not important. We've picked up our river name and site name, your ID at the time, date the gauging was carried out, and then this is referring to the first tap file here. So you can see that, for instance, the offset's changing as we jump through the different tap files. There's your offset in meters. So these are the different integrated verticals we've done through this gauging. The type of instrument was the poem, the depth integrated gauging, and down below we've got, what else have we got here? The datum, if you choose to use a datum, and mean sea level, I mean that's all optional. This horizontal angle is if you need to correct it to the flow. I mean, we tend to set up a gauging cross section dead across the river, so perpendicular to the flow. So it's usually 90 degrees as a default, but if maybe you're on a 45 or funny angle, you need to change that to let the software know that you're accounting for that angle. And we've got 0 depth counts. This is the raw readings that the instrument was getting before. So it's the 0 readings in the atmosphere sitting just above the water, which tend to show just how things vary through. So if we go through the different tap files, you can see it varies slightly just with atmospheric conditions, wind, barometric pressure over the day. Recording rate, that's just how often it's sampling, not important. This is quite interesting here, the errors per tap file. You've got 9 sync 2-bit errors and a couple of bad values, and that changes slightly. I mean, the numbers is 0 at that one. So the other thing to look at, let's just go to the first tap file. We can look, that's the info. There's a data option, this displays it. We didn't see this very well during the gauging because the scale wasn't very good, but this is auto scaled much better for us. So you can see the depth here in the green. As we've hit the water, we've gone down to nearly 2.5 meters and back up, and the velocity through that profile as we've gone up and down. So as well as displaying it this way, we look at the process data. We can see the up track and down track, up track in green and the down track in blue, and you can see the difference in velocity as the poem gets maybe dragged backwards and then back up through the water velocities as it comes back to the surface. So depth down the side and velocity. So it's quite nice to see the velocity distribution through the profile. And we can scroll through the other tap files, you can see the difference. So you can sort of see the velocity changing there. As it goes deeper, the velocity slows. The next one along is the depth integrated statistics. So the first box we've got here is the 10th percentiles, so split into 10, looking at the velocity, the average velocity of those percentiles and the standard deviation of that. But what's more of interest is the summary stats down below. So this is a summary of all verticals. Here we have our final discharge of 85 cubics, the mean velocity, the hole gauging, and the flow area. Remembering that flow area is just the area that's been measured, not there's a 5% cutoff at the base, at the bed, and a 5% at the surface, so it's not really the true area of the gauging cross section. And here it is here for each tap file we can run through. In fact, you can see them here, that the actual number at the top, see 2544 refers to this one, so here's your 20 verticals going across this way. And amongst those you've got your horizontal offset running along the top, mean velocity in that vertical, the area and the flow, so breakdown of each flow at each segment right through to the last one, which is this one down the bottom here. Yep, that last one will be a point sample for water's edge. So that shows you that nicely, and that's the information you will be wanting to put into Aquarius. And the last tab here is AZ counts, which is just showing you the zero checks, if you like, for each vertical for both the depth and the velocity measurements. So this check is important, as sometimes that nozzle can get blocked by either water or silt maybe getting in there, and the pressure sensors therefore don't give you that zero reading, and it causes an erroneous reading to then be logged. And that zero reading at the start is used as an offset against the velocity and depth calibration. So if it's erroneous, then you'll get an invalid depth and velocity calculated from that. It can be corrected in the AZ counts tab sheet, so just look through the help menu for that. So it shows you that it's fairly steady over the whole time. So that's all of these integrated verticals displayed here graphically as a check, and also tabular. So fairly straightforward. Really, this one here is where you want to just to get your final discharges for Aquarius, and you can display the data there and look at your info here. So anything like dodgy starts that might have, you might have hit a wave or a false start on the water and it's come back up. The way the software works is that remember it's cutting off the first 5% at the surface and the bottom, so it will ignore everything, especially if it's above water and it's a negative depth. So anything negative depth just gets ignored, and it won't start till 5% down, so it's going to cut off that top if you're mucking around through the waves at the top. So it should account for that, and no editing required. And the other thing, if you know you have a setup file that shouldn't be included, see this one here is very shallow, maybe in this one here, nothing in it. Maybe you're practicing on the bank just with the setup checks. It may pay just to delete these tap files out, if you know, or make a note of them on your gauging card. Delete them out before they're brought into out of the directory here, so that they're not brought in and included in the gauging themselves. And that's about it. And just remember to use the help to just explain these again. It's very helpful. And if you want to export the data, you'll find in the help menu again too, we can export the current vertical, all the verticals, the pairs, deciles, whatever you want to. And that's again back out under File, Export Raw Counts, Depth Pairs, there's options there, all the deciles. So it could be good to go out to Excel to use for comparing with other software, maybe ACP to get the top and bottom velocities for comparisons. That's about it.